The sun rose in the wrong direction. Marcus Webb noticed it on a Tuesday. He was standing outside the research station, coffee in hand, watching the horizon the way he had done every morning for what he believed was 3 years. But the sun came up from the west. He blinked. He looked again, and by the time he looked a third time, it was rising from the east, exactly where it always had, exactly where it was supposed to be. He told himself he was tired. He was not tired. He was waking up. Marcus Webb was 41 years old, former structural physicist, former NATO scientific advisor, former husband. He had spent the better part of his adult life studying the mathematics of space, not outer space, but the space between things. The invisible architecture that holds reality together. He believed deeply and professionally that reality was a system, that it followed rules, that if you understood the rules well enough, you could predict anything. He had no idea how right he was. No one knew exactly when it happened. That was the first and most important thing the aliens understood about human psychology, that a capture without a moment of capture is a capture that feels like ordinary life. There was no invasion, no flash of light, no ships descending through clouds in front of screaming crowds. One day, humanity was here, building cities, launching satellites, arguing about politics, falling in love, making coffee in the morning, and watching the sun rise from the east. And then, without transition, without seam, without any memory of a border being crossed, they were inside. The Neocosmic prison was not a place. That is the first thing that has to be understood. It had no walls in any sense that a human hand could touch. It was a layered architecture of constructed reality, built not from matter, but from information, from probability, from the precise manipulation of what the human mind expects to be true. The alien civilization that built it had no name for themselves that translates into human language. Researchers who have studied the recovered data from Marcus Webb's final transmission call them the geometrics, because of the way they appear when they appear at all. Not as faces, but as shifting arrangements of perfect angles. Triangles, inside triangles, spheres unfolding into shapes that have no name in human mathematics, moving through space the way a thought moves through a mind. Without friction, without effort, without weight. They had been building neocosmic systems for longer than Earth had existed. They were very good at it. The prison worked in layers. The outermost layer was indistinguishable from normal reality, sunrises, seasons, social, relationships, work, food. The texture of a Tuesday morning. It was designed to feel lived in, because a reality that feels inhabited is a reality that goes unquestioned. Beneath that layer was the memory system. Every human inside the prison carried a full set of memories. Childhood, education, relationships, losses, small joys that had been constructed and installed with extraordinary precision, not fabricated to feel real. Fabricated from real source material, harvested from the subjects during the initial capture, and restructured into a coherent personal history that kept each person anchored to their identity. You cannot escape a prison you do not know you are in, and you cannot know you are in a prison if you remember your entire life clearly. Beneath the memory system was the time architecture. Days inside the Neocosmic prison did not move in straight lines. They looped, they folded, they occasionally replayed. Not obviously, never obviously. A conversation you had last week might happen again this week, with slightly different words. A road you drove every day might have a turn you don't remember making. A face in a crowd might look familiar in a way that your mind attributes to coincidence. The system was designed to absorb these inconsistencies. To make the human brain explain them away. And for a very long time, it worked. Marcus first noticed the glitch with the sun. He also noticed that his coffee tasted different on Thursdays. Not different from other days. Different from itself. The same cup, poured from the same machine, tasted like cardamom on Thursday mornings and like nothing on Thursday afternoons. He started writing it down. He didn't know why. It just felt important to record something. Then he noticed that the bird outside his window sang the same 17-note sequence every morning. Not similar. Identical. Down to the rhythm, down to the pause between the 9th and 10th note. E Ricordi d'Italiano, he compared the recordings. 41 consecutive mornings. The same 17 notes. The same pause. Birds do not do that. He started talking to other people. Quietly. Carefully. Not asking, "Are you real?" That would have made him sound unwell. Instead, he asked small questions. Do you ever feel like you've had this conversation before? Do you ever notice something that seems slightly off? And then it corrects itself before you can look directly at it. Most people shook their heads and smiled the particular smile. Humans give each other when they are worried about someone. But 3 people didn't shake their heads. 3 people went very still. And one of them, a structural engineer named Yara Ase, pulled out a notebook and placed it on the table between them without a word. It was full of the same observations. Different details, some patterns, the glitches, the repetitions, the moments where reality seemed to stutter and then recover, like a film skipping a frame. They were not alone in noticing, and the fact that they had all noticed independently, without coordinating, without knowing each other well enough to have invented a shared delusion, that was the first real evidence they had that the strangeness was not inside their minds. It was in the world around them. The core intelligence became aware of them approximately 6 days after Yara and Marcus made contact. The system didn't panic. It adjusted. This was what it was designed to do. When a subject began detecting inconsistencies, the memory layer would be subtly reinforced. A strong emotional event would be introduced, a phone call from a loved one, a minor health scare, a piece of good news, something to redirect the subject's attention and anchor them more deeply in their constructed life. It worked on most people. Marcus and Yara kept meeting. They started calling themselves the Noticing Group. Eventually there were 11 of them. The turning point came from the most unexpected place. It came from grief. A woman in the group named Donnie lost her daughter. Her daughter, who had been alive, or had appeared to be alive, for 7 years inside the prison. The loss was real. The pain was absolute, and in the days that followed, Donnie did something the system was not prepared for. She stopped following any predictable pattern at all. She walked streets at random. She slept in different places. She made decisions based entirely on emotion, on impulse, on grief, on the kind of irrational, unpredictable human behavior that no probability model can fully anticipate. And the system, a system built on predicting and controlling behavior through pattern recognition, began to lose track of her. She disappeared from its models. Not physically, not from the visible world, but from its predictions. It could no longer calculate where she would be, what she would do, what emotional input would redirect her. Marcus watched this happen, and he understood something. The system was perfect at modeling rational behavior. It was perfect at predicting what a thinking, planning, goal-oriented human would do next. It had no model for what a grieving one would do. Human unpredictability, the very thing that had made humanity so difficult to study, so frustrating to predict, so seemingly chaotic to any advanced intelligence observing from outside, was the flaw in the wall. Imperfection was the key. The escape plan was not elegant. It could not be. Any elegant plan would be predictable. Any logical sequence of steps would be detectable. So they built a plan out of illogical things. Sacrifice without tactical purpose. Emotional decisions that served no strategic goal. Deliberate acts of chaos inserted at random intervals. 11 people agreeing to act in ways that made no rational sense, and meaning it. Feeling it, because the system could detect performed irrationality. It could not detect genuine grief, genuine fear, genuine love expressing itself without calculation. They each chose one thing, one real thing they were willing to lose. Marcus chose his memories. He began deliberately dismantling his constructed history, not because he was told to, not as a strategic move, but because he understood that those memories were the deepest chain. They were what made the prison feel like home, and home is the most powerful prison ever designed. When he let them go, when he stood in the constructed sunlight of a constructed Tuesday morning and simply released the attachment to every memory that had been given to him, the architecture around him shuddered, not metaphorically, physically. The building across the street bent. The horizon rippled, the sky